Welcome to Tales of Terror, Episode 4, and this is the tale of the drawings. Ron, 9 years old, and way up past his bedtime, is looking out of his blinds at a tall, dark figure standing in the middle of the street in front of his house. Terrified and shaking, he hopes that his mind is just playing tricks on him, as he's been seeing the figure all day. He stares until the figure begins to walk toward the house. Ron backs up, panicking and breathing erratically. The sounds around him seem to completely go quiet, all except the rustling and crushing of leaves as they are being stepped upon. It walks up the porch steps and into the house. Ron's heart stops as it next walks up the stairs. He jumps in the bed and pulls the cover over his head as it stands outside of his door. It tries to knock, but it's locked. It then proceeds to stand a couple feet over, parallel to the other side of his closet. The closet's double folding doors begin to shake as things inside of it begin to fall. Ron peeks out of a small opening from his covers. The door stops shaking. A brief moment of silence occurs right before the doors open up wide. The bed turns bottom in toward the closet and is pulled completely inside, with Ron screaming as loud as he can until he disappears completely into the darkness. Follow for part 2. Maria, age 9, lives with her mother May in a small home. Maria is a relatively normal girl, but mainly stays to herself and writes and draws in a notebook that she carries around with her everywhere. And sometimes the kids are even mean to her because of it. May is very protective over Maria due to the loss of her father months back and the disappearance of several children at her school. Every day, Maria comes home, does homework, and works in her notebook, and every now and then talks to her imaginary friend. May doesn't mind this as she sees it as being harmless and a way to cope with the death of Maria's father. But lately, with the sadness of being a single parent now, work and juggling everything all at once is having her stress level rise tremendously, where she finds herself sometimes taking her anger out vocally on Maria when she doesn't really mean to do it, until weird things begin to happen. Follow for part 3. One morning, as the bus arrived out front to pick up Maria, before heading out, Maria grabs her mother and hugs her tightly, tighter than she's ever have, almost like a goodbye embrace. This strikes May as being weird and asks her, "What's wrong?" But Maria replies, "Nothing." May says, "Are you sure?" And Maria says yes, and adds on that she loves her so much and walks out the door. Thrown off, May shortly gets it out her mind and goes on about her day, believing in that Maria will be okay. The day goes on. All day, feels cold spots throughout the house and the feeling of being watched. One time in particular, while doing laundry, she has a very off-put feeling of something being behind her, with a cold chill engulfing the room. She slowly turns, but nothing is there. Continuing on, she goes into Maria's room. She sees Maria left her precious notebook, which is out of the ordinary because Maria has never done that before. Curious, as she's never seen the inside of it, with Maria very sensitive about its contents. She opens it up and is shocked by everything she sees in it. Follow for part 4. May covers her mouth in shock as the book details death in the most gruesome ways. She flips through the pages and it keeps getting worse. She sees that the victims in the book are all kids: Jeff, Mike, Rose, Julio, Christine, Josh, and Ron. All the missing kids from her school. Each page depicting their death from beginning to end. Horrified, she comes across the last pages, and seeing everything, all of the blood rushes from her head. Seconds later, she feels that something is behind her. She drops the book. Her body tenses up with paralyzing fear as something starts breathing heavy behind her. She begins to turn slowly, making direct eye contact with the thing. Follow for part 5. Taped off, the house is flooded with police. Maria is outside with an officer asking her questions. A detective walks in and is being quickly debriefed on everything. May's remains are all over the room. The detective says how this is the most gruesome murder he has ever seen in all his years on the force. The detective asks about the daughter. The officer tells him she's sad, but she's not saying anything. Just then, another officer brings him the notebook and tells him how he needs to look at it. He tells him that it's the little girl's and that she was asking about it, but the contents inside need attention. The detective looks inside and is aghast at the drawings. Flipping to the last pages, he sees drawings of her mother throughout the house, with a demonic-looking creature behind her. and as well as her death. And the last thing that's drawn is the detective with the book standing over May's remains.